Let's head back to Miami, Florida for the murder trial for Daisy Link. She's the defendant in this case. Prosecutors say that she murdered her on and off, again, partner Pedro Jimenez. He's the father of 2 of her kids. She has another child that she conceived while being incarcerated. This all took place in June of 22, the murder, the alleged murder. Her defense is saying that this was a guy that was unhinged, out of control, and it was self-defense.
Now, the prosecution says that no, she was the one who was emotionally distraught and going after him. Now, both sides do agree that this relationship was toxic, that there was abuse involved. She is charged with second-degree murder there in Miami. Let's get you back inside of the courtroom now. We've got someone with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office, a K-9 officer, on the stand.
Good afternoon, officer.
Good afternoon.
Can you please say your name for the record?
Victor Gil.
Okay. And can you please tell the jury what's your current occupation?
I am a deputy sheriff with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office.
And how long have you been with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office?
Going on 26 years.
So what exactly is your current assignment then with the Miami-Dade Sheriff's Office?
I am a canine handler with the within the narcotics section, and I have a firearms detection dog.
Okay. So can you describe to the jury what some of your roles are as a canine handler?
My daily roles are to assist detectives in their investigations where they need to locate or assistance in searching for anything related to a firearm.
Now, back in June of 2022, what was your assignment? Were you still a canine handler?
Yes.
Okay. So what type of training do you need to undergo as a canine handler?
Myself and the dog in our unit, the way that it is the dog and I are chosen. We're both in my situation. I was a green handler, meaning I never handled a canine prior to this, and the dog was never on any scent, meaning the odor that they have to detect. So we both start off green. We have an independent trainer who trains us together, puts us through a whole process. And the dog, basically everyone knows what a dog does. They love to find food. We use that natural instinct to train them to find. We give them a toy. From the toy, we insert the odors that we want them to find. And then we go through the process of training together.
So what's your canine's name then?
It's a female Belgian Malinois named Nani, N-A-N-Y.
So you had mentioned that you were green with Nani. When did that happen? When did you guys first start working together? In
February, I got to K-9 in February of 2018.
Okay, so then by 2022, you had already been together for a few years, then, right?
That is correct.
All right. So I want to break down a little bit about what you talked about regarding scent and how they're trained to find a certain type of scent with your toy.
Yes.
What exactly is Nani trained to find then, and how did you guys do that?
So, like I said, it's the natural instinct of the dog to search and to find food. We take that natural instinct and we introduce what is a toy. I didn't bring my Kong, but it's a Kong. It's usually a red or black toy. We introduce that. We play with them to see their enthusiasm, to see how much they actually interact with you. In that process, now we introduce the 2 odors. The 2 odors that we associated to firearms are gun oil and black powder. The reason for those 2 odors is because black powder obviously is in ammunition. So when a firearm is fired, it also causes combustion, which makes the round go out the barrel. So that stays in on the casing or on the actual firearm. The gun oil, every firearm from manufacturing, from the first day that it has to be lubricated so that it can move, all the mechanical parts can move freely. So that's why you have gun oil and black powder, and they both have to be from inception fired to make sure that the firearm is working. So we know from day one, whenever this firearm was sold, it had to be through a testing process to make sure that it works and that it's oiled properly. So those 2 odors are the 2 that we associated to the firearm.
Okay, so you know that you're in the narcotics section, but you look for firearms. Is your dog trained to look for narcotics too then, or?
No. In our section, what we have is what we call single purpose. So sometimes you'll see some dogs will have what they call bite dogs, and then they also can alert to odors. Our dogs are single purpose, so we only focus on one thing, and for my dog, it's just firearm detection.
And how often is Nani trained then?
With our department, we have to certify every year with an independent someone who certifies us. Ours is through FIU, Florida International University, and it's the International Forensics Research Institute. Sends out an independent person who is not attached to our department, and they run us through a testing. I do 4 areas outside of casings and firearms, and then 4 areas interior, and I have to find all 8 of those aids in those locations to pass certification every year.
I have a couple more questions about Nani.
Okay.
Has Nani ever had any other handler?
No.
So you've been the only person with Nani?
Yeah, she will retire with me.
Okay. Now, does Nani just use her sense of smell, or is she trying to hear or look for things with her eyes?
She actually calls for speculation.
The dogs are based off odor, so when we don't see it, they don't look for the actual item. Again, it's the odor that emanates from the item. So it's the black powders and the oils is what the dog is actually alerting to.
Okay, so I want to bring your attention then to the morning of June 25th, 2022, a Saturday. Were you on duty that day?
I was called out on that day.
Okay, so you were called out, but did you respond to 1237 Northwest 14th Street in Homestead, Florida?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when you responded to the scene, how does that start off? What do you do?
I usually make contact with the detectives. We do so many of these calls that we're just tools for the detectives. So we usually respond to the scene. We speak to the detectives that called us out to see how they need us to assist them in whatever way.
So when you arrived on the scene, were there other officers already present there, or what?
Yeah, there was already other officers present.
Was it still night out, or was it day?
From what I recall, it was day.
Okay. So, were you given any specific roles or tasks during when you arrived?
Like I said, I don't remember the whole incident in its entirety, but I do, per my report, recall that I was asked to search the location, a residence, and an exterior part of a residence.
Sorry, the last answer again?
I was tasked, per my report, from what I recall, I was tasked to search a residence and the exterior front location of a residence.
Now, at this time, as you're there with Nani, is there any other canine unit that's there at the same time?
From looking at one of the reports, there was another the handler that was present.
Okay. Now, what do you do in order to prepare Nani to start looking for any evidence on the scene?
For the interior search, one of the first things that we would do is run through the house or conduct a walkthrough of the house to make sure that the house is safe and there aren't any objects or anything that would interfere with the dogs, especially for safety concerns, for myself or the dog.
So, we talked about that there were multiple places, that Nani had done a search. On the actual property itself, inside or outside, did Nani locate anything?
Yes.
What did she locate?
A firearm.
Okay. Do you remember how she ended up locating that?
Yes, that's the part that I do remember because it was not a normal situation. I was searching the front location of the area, and as I was searching the area, my dog pulls me towards a tree, areca palm tree, and goes into the branches or leaves of it and sits down, and that's how we know. And that's her form of letting us know that there's something present.
Okay. So is Nani on a leash as well, too?
Yes.
Now, are you standing in front of her, leading her where to go?
No.
You're letting her take control then?
That is correct.
Your Honor, I'm now showing defense what's been already introduced that evidence as stated Exhibit 14. Now, what are you looking at here in this image?
The areca palm tree.
Okay. Is that the palm tree that you were just describing that Nani took you to?
Yes.
Now, we see this here. When Nani had sat down and signaled to you that there was something in the area, were you able to see it with your eyes what was there?
No, I was not.
Okay. So what do you do next then as you're being alerted to this area?
I know that someone was assisting me from what I remember. We moved the branches, and as we moved the branches apart, you could see what appeared to be a butt of a firearm.
And is that the butt of the firearm you're describing?
Yes,
And that's what you saw on that day with Nani?
that is correct.
Now, when you locate that, are you grabbing the firearm or touching it in any way?
No.
What do you do then?
I just notify the homicide detectives and the crime scene technicians just for a chain of custody to make sure that they can itemize and document the property.
So now that you've located the firearm itself, are you and Nani looking for anything else?
I know that we continue to search to a certain extent, but there was nothing else that my dog located.
Did you find any spent bullet casings?
No, I did not.
Did you locate any empty magazines or anything else, or just the firearm?
Just the firearm.
Okay, Your Honor, a moment to confirm. Your Honor, no further questions at this time.
Thank you. Have a good day, everybody.
We're going to do a little earlier than I had anticipated, not a bad thing. So we'll take a lunch break until 1:30. That should give you all enough time to travel, go wherever you need to go, stay in the building if you want to go to the cafeteria on the first floor, or the cafeteria on the bottom floor. I'm going to remind you again, now to discuss this case.
Okay, that was the lunch break. A few minutes ago, they're still at lunch there. Boy, that was interesting.
Nani. The
Nani's a
canine.
single focused dog that only looks for firearms.
Right, using gun oil and back powder. It's always interesting to hear how they train the dogs to be able to do that. But we got to see a little bit of the defendant interacting with her attorney. She seemed pretty animated during that testimony.
Yeah, but no questions, no cross, which is probably a good idea. Jessica Lettingham is still with us. This witness shows the gun in a palm tree, hidden, consciousness of guilt. You would argue that's what the state's going to argue.
That is what the state is going to argue, and that's why, Nani was so important, and him explaining how they found it and how it probably wouldn't have been found unless they had this dog. And as you just pointed out, it's a great idea on the defense to not ask questions, because not only was he well spoken, you're not going to be able to impeach him. He is very certified with his dog, Nani, and he was animated too. So the jury's really going to like him and like hearing about the dog. But yeah, the state, they can definitely prove she was trying to get away with it by hiding the weapon.
Yeah, and that goes along with perhaps the way that the witness on the stand, the neighbor, was describing what he was seeing. We don't really know all of the context, but we were seeing a lot of movement. I want to ask you about this part that the defense will probably bring out, if they can, in some of the prosecution witnesses or once the case goes to the defense. But this is about the pistol whipping, the alleged pistol whipping by the victim of the defendant 5 days before this shooting. How does that impact things? Could we see something like a battered spouse, battered partner syndrome argument when perhaps even if she did fire in his back, she was worried about what happened 5 days prior?
Battered victim, the battered spouse argument is going to be really difficult for the reason that you pointed out at the top of the hour, which is they are a toxic relationship. With the battered spouse, the battered victim argument, you have to show that they were suffering years of abuse, right? Like a very long time, and that they never ever fought back. And finally one day they said, this is my chance to get out of alive. That's not going to really work here, because you have this back and forth. They're very toxic, both very feisty. And so she doesn't really fit the mold of that story.
Yeah. There she is, Daisy Link. She is now a defendant in a murder case.